So the next level I'm talking about is the activation of the ARI-ATH flame. The ARI-ATH flame, when it appears, is depolarization of the next levels. Notice that the round radio bodies on density 2, remember they disappeared and transmuted to become the Eros flame on density 1 with the first Eros activations. With these, the density 2 Eros also activates, blends with the density 1 Eros to form a huge 2-density level Eros flame. And around that forms the ARI-ATH flame in density 1. The ARI-ATH flame is the combining of the trion and meage field of the light and sound body and turning it back into what's called the crystal body field or the rayon field. All right, so it transmutes, and what it looks like when you combine the trion meage field of one density level of the radio body, it looks like an emerald blue-green color. It's the emerald flame. They call it the emerald flame. That's where we get emerald order and all that kind of stuff. It has to do with the emerald flame. Now, there's a whole bunch of technicals we could read to you, but we don't really need to at this point. It will be in the final text of this, and it might even be posted at this point. I think that might have got posted with some of it, that explains in technical terms, the Eros activation does this, and it moves this here, and it does this here, and does it, one of those that I could take another hour for each level of activation to explain. Basically, what this one will do is it opens 2 chords. There's a point here that's in the, what's that, thymus. I always have my thyroid and my thymus twisted. The thymus gland. That's called the Azure point. It's a similar structure of frequency, crystalline frequency, just like the Yumi point is, but it's at the next level up. It's also known as the throne of power. And the embodied Cathara grid, right, the Cathara grid in the body, the Azure point is the central point of the entire Cathara, which would be the lock that exists between Cathara Center 6, or Stargate 6, and Cathara Center 7. So it's right here, and you have Cathara Center 6 over in this shoulder, Cathara Center 7 over in this one. So it's right in here. And it is the central point. It is an extremely important point because it is the point where the ARI-ATH flame from the inner Eka universes can come down through our universal Stargate and galactic Stargate system into our planetary Stargate system and into our personal embodied Stargate system, which is the embodied Cathara grid. So when we begin to activate this, we are literally creating a 2-density level flame body. What this does is transmute the barriers between the levels in the auric field. So dimension 1, 2, and 3 are usually separate from each other. Then there's a big barrier between dimension 4, 5, and 6 in the field. It begins to transmute those into the flame body field. So it will get good at some point, probably not this workshop, but maybe by the end of Dance for Joy, we'll learn how to have some fun by being able to just check out the scenery and just watch people, not necessarily people that are in the workshops with us, but look at our own fields and see what the changes are, what levels are transmuting, and then look at other people just passing by, look at animals and plants to see what their fields are doing, because we can learn a whole lot. You can see all of this once you get the inner sight turned on. Even if it's see field, where you don't really see it, but you see it, it's like it's still black, but you know you see it, you can see the levels and things. You can actually see these levels. You can also see one who is fully possessed in what's called Metatronic. So there's a lot of things we can have fun with later, but right now it's getting the activations done and getting strong so we can have fun later. So we don't end up in a black hole. So you will open up another chord. This is technically the chord that was used to get you into your density 2 body, and then you downstep that into density 1. So you're opening density 1 and density 2 into each other. By the time, this is just showing you 2 density levels of it. By the time we get through with all of the techniques, it will take us up to a 4 density level ARI-ATH flame, which means you not only have these barriers opened and merged with each other and the flame around here, you'd have the flame going up density 3 and density 4, which activates other centers. Another one in the pineal, and I think where's the other one? We didn't get into that one yet. Yeah, and the other one that would be up above the head. So there are other flames that the higher, the more expansion you get dimensionally in the ARI-ATH flame, the more seals are releasing between dimensions and densities, and the more frequency of your avatar consciousness you're bringing in. All of this corresponds to more of your shields activating, more of your Mahara shield, more of your DNA. Now, the problem we're going to fix. Now, the reason we need to do this now is because we have a problem since 25,500 BC that's been hanging us up just a little, and it's called the net in our field. In order to override the power of the frequency in the net, we need to activate at least to density 4 ARI-ATH flame. That's how strong these Metatronic implants are. That, the planetary, galactic, and universal, but that even the ones in our body, they are so strong that you need to run higher than the 11.5 reverse current. You have to hit it with something even higher. A regular Maharic seal wouldn't even be enough, because part of 11.5 implies part of D12. It could at least run, so it could turn around part of D12 current alone. The Metatronic seals are worse than what we've taught in some of the other things about the Jehovian seals and things. These look like kindergarten compared to the Metatronic seals. And the Metatronic thing, if you get fully Metatronic, it is permanent. You can't pull your template out of it. There's no way to separate them without fragmenting both. So what this does, the Metatronic seals and implants in the DNA template and they're literally in our Maharic shield. Our Maharic shield holds our entire 12-dimensional template. They are literally manifesting in the Maharic shield. They have to be cleared, and you have to go above the Maharic shield to do that. You have to go into what's called the Yhu-Rha-yah shield, which is the primal light field, and what's called the Ionic shield, which is the one that corresponds to the Eka and the God worlds up above it. So we are going to be activating these higher levels of frequency to bring the subharmonics of these higher spaces and their electronic coding down in to be able to clear before they activate the Metatronic implants in the body. The next one. And the net. Here again, so density 1 body. We're supposed to have the natural structure of the Eros field, the Miage field, the Trion field, and the Rayon field. That was a natural radio body structure. What these implants do, and they've been partially activated progressively since 25,500 BC. Partially. They haven't been fully activated. That's what they're trying to do right now. The final going in for the kill on a planetary level. All right. What they do is they create an electrostatic field that's unnatural between the Eros and the rest of the radio body. Whoa. Rest of the radio body. And they reverse part of the radio body structure, where it's supposed to be the sound field on the inside, the light field on the outside, and the rayon field outside of that. They reverse it, where you end up with, with the Miage field, the energy sucking or contracting field on the outside, the light field on the inside. This allows them to use the field to actually suck energy from the system around it, where it's supposed to transmit energy through. It actually sucks energy from it. Now, they've got it where planets do this, galaxies do this, universes over here do this. This is a big beast. This Metatronic implant system, known as the beast, is a big issue here. It's been going on for, long before humans were created. This mess was started. So what it does to us personally is it creates that same net, Nibiruan electrostatic transduction field, which is an electrostatic field, a stasis field, that stops the energy flow, the natural energy flow that would occur between the density levels. You get a partial energy flow, 1/3 energy flow natural, 2/3 reversed. It means 2/3 of our Merkabas are reversed, 2/3 of our DNA template coding is reversed, which means the chemicals realign with each other in reverse to create other chemicals that were never meant to be there in the first place. This is where our bodies die. They weren't meant to. We were supposed to be in eternal life type form. What it also does is it creates what's called a shadow body. It's the portion of your shields that holds the imprint of your body, but has 2/3 of your energy running in reverse. This is where we get the duality of consciousness all the time. I'm going to go here. No, you're going to go there. No, I'm going to go here. But this is good for me. No, that's good for you. Where you're constantly like, what do I do? The angel and the devil on the shoulder concept. The shadow body is the template that what's called the shadow dancer, which is the Wisdek, that was never part of your body in the first place, never part of your soul group, never part of your incarnation, was even part of your matrix, your universal matrix. They were from a whole other system. They have latched on to the beings in this system, and because human beings and indigos were created as the guardians of this system, they have the highest codes here. So they latch onto the beings that have the highest codes that they can get their hands on, because it gives them access to the most of the things in this universe. So we have a big problem. It's called the shadow dancer problem. I'll show you what shadow dancers are in a second. First, we need to understand we have this net static field that has been blocking our higher consciousness out, literally biochemically. It's in the field, and it's literally between our what should be our Eros field and the next level out of the radial body. And what it creates is chemical distortion in the DNA. where the DNA isn't programming right. It isn't manifesting correctly. That chemically blocks our ability to have the rest of our consciousness naturally flowing here. So what we're doing as we heal this is restoring ourselves biochemically as well as restoring ourselves bioenergetically. Now, it means we need to heal this part of ourselves. This is our little self here that we know in density 1, right? And this is our shadow in density 1. That has 2/3 of our energy, and right now we're running on 1/3. Well, we can't just cut it off and throw it away because we're throwing away 2/3 of our energy, and that means we're not going to have enough thrust to move out of density 1 and integrate density 2, which means we'll be stuck in density 1 incarnational cycles, which is not a pleasant thing to be under conditions like we're under right now. So the shadow needs to be healed. The shadow is interesting, because what it does when you go to sleep in the dream state, what occurs is where your natural astral body, where this should have activated, your tube activated, the seal's open, and you go out and run around in your astral body, it creates the implants that create the shadow, create a fragmentation where part goes into, you get an astral imprint that's reversed. So it's like an astral shadow. And then you get a part stuck in the D3 mental body framework. This is where you get those fragmented dreams from. Where, I dream weird kind of stuff, this processing, I guess, from the day, whatever. You get little fragments of incarnational things floating by and you can't figure out what the heck they are. This is why you get lost when you go to sleep. Going to sleep used to be, you would shift consciousness to another space, fully know what you did, and fully bring it back with memory. When you shifted back into the body, it was all conscious. This is what creates sleep. This is what creates REM, rapid eye movement sleep. That is not a natural level of consciousness. That is something that biochemically occurs because we get split in half when we're supposed to go astral. Our astral body doesn't get to go astral. It doesn't go into density 2. It gets pulled through the void and down through the path of ARI-ATH coding, into the phantom matrix. Now, it's on its way into the Yhu-Rha-yah matrix. Some of them actually get pulled all the way into Yhu-Rha-yah and then sent back. But most of them get sent into phantom. They pick up more reverse coding from the phantom atmosphere, come back in, merge again with the part that got stuck over in the mental body, bring it back, come back in, your consciousness comes back into the body, and you're like, where am I? And if you have had astral experiences, very often they're phantom. What you're experiencing actually is a tour in phantom rather than a tour in the astral plane. But if you don't know the differences between the places, it's all the same to you. You know what I mean? A lot of the astral body courses that are out there right now are teaching you how to consciously get yourself into phantom because they don't know the difference between what a natural astral projection is, what the real astral body is, and what the phantom shadow body is. Now, when we heal the shadow, these two come back together. These things open up naturally and form the natural connections between the densities through which we can have natural astral experience, which eventually leads to bilocation, which eventually leads to biological ascension and the ability to move between space-time frames. All right? So we're going to heal this. What this is connected to, see these cords here? This is a rough drawing of a cord. Now, here we have the implants. They're called the 4 black hearts of Metatron implants. They manifest in the body in these ways, but they manifest up each density. There's one in each density. If you look at the embodied Kathara grid, that corresponds to the density 1 body, density 2 body, density 3 body, and density 4 body. This affects your soul, your oversoul, and your avatar self, not just yourself down here. That's why all of those parts of you are helping you to heal this, because it's the whole self needs to heal this problem. The 4 of them manifest in the body on each level, each of the 4 levels of the body, and they direct the flow of energy. They split in half the consciousness when it goes astral, and they allow through the part that goes phantom, which is the phantom shadow body. They allow the Yhu-Rha-yahs in their matrix to use the ARI-ATH wormhole to directly connect into the phantom body or your shadow body and draw energy directly from you on each level. This is what also allows them to push their consciousness through that same tube, come in to possess your shadow, and what they're trying to do now is to take over the bodies that are here. That's how they do full body possession, where they literally, as conscious energy, push themselves as light sound patterns through the tubes, through the shadow body, into you. And since the shadow body is holding 2/3 of the energy right now because of the implants, and we're holding in the natural state, in the Christos imprint, only 1/3, that makes it a pretty formidable adversary. That's why possession happens now. I mean, it's kind of funny that they conveniently taught us They helped to cultivate science here, They helped to teach us that possession was just old wives' tale stuff. Nothing like that really happens, just like they taught us that consciousness was a byproduct of chemical firing in the brain, and it would be gone after the brain was gone. All the science teachings have been catered to get us to the point where we wouldn't be able to understand, or if somebody showed us, we'd laugh at it, and we'd say it was fiction. So we wouldn't fix it, because the fixing isn't that hard. The fixing is activating the flame bodies. That's why these teachings were banned since 25,500. There have been people burned at the stake. There have been people literally heads cut off. All sorts of stuff for teaching this stuff. We've been the heretics of the fallen gods. That's what the Azarites have been for a very long time. Because we taught the truth, and no matter what you did to us or tried to threaten us with, and no matter what you took away now, we always trusted the truth and the balance of the universe, and we would not compromise. We would speak our truth, or we'd be quiet, but if you forced us, we would not speak a lie and defend a teaching that stood in opposition to what we knew the truth to be. And we paid for it over and over and over again, but we knew there'd come a time when we could speak freely. We might get frowned at and scowled at and stuff, but at least they're not shooting us and hanging us and doing worse things. Burning us at the stake was the big one. Now, we're going to go to a place where one of those instances took place when we go to Montsegur. It was about this, and it was about something called the CDD plates and shields, which are physical devices that hold this knowledge, but are also manual transmission devices for the ARI-ATH frequencies. We're going to be activating, the guardian groups are activating the 12 shields and 12 CDD plates. So we'll talk about that when we get more into the mass drama and what's happening now. They are the manual override devices on the stargates that give the inner Eka races manual control on the gates so they can balance the grids when the MRA arcs come through. But our job here, the indigo job on the planet, has always been, in crisis times, if they had to activate the shields and the plates, that we would put in the security release codes on those, because if we don't, they won't activate, and that means the place would go to pole shift as a protective device. That meant that only the other guys had the planet and they were going to take it down. So literally, if we don't activate the shields and things, all we do is show up. We have it in our DNA. The codes are in our DNA. We show up, we activate our flame bodies, and it just runs the security release codes, and it allows for the process of the shields and the CDD plates to activate, and that allows for the gates in the inner Eka worlds to fully open into our gates, which gives us the stability so we don't fall and go black hole status. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. Back to this body. One more diagram, I think, and we are on technique. Might be 2. This again is just showing you density 1 and density 2. Remember, it goes up 4 densities. We call it the sleepers, the shadows, and the shadow dancers. Density 1, 2, 3, 4. We have our little cells here, our 2/3 shadow that connects to, this would be the phantom matrix, where we actually have our shadow. That's where our shadow goes. When we go to sleep here, we turn on over there in our shadow pattern. And then over here, you have the dancers. Now, there's a reason why they're upside down. It has to do with the Cathara grids and the numbering on them, where ours starts 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have 1 at the bottom and 12 at the top. When you go into phantom, our left and right columns are reversed. But when you go all the way over to Wisadek, they're not only left and right reversed on the Cathara grid, but the whole thing is run in reverse, it's like offset a little bit dimensionally. So they would have the upside down. Their 1 would be on top on the Cathara grid. So that's just kind of illustrating that concept. Now, there's something called the power of the Metatronic monster. It has to do with something called, I like to call it the flaming blue sword from hell. All right? The blue sword current is a frequency, an artificially generated frequency that the implants, the Metatronic implanted code, the Metatronic code allowed for the creation of. It took D6 frequency, I think. Yeah, D6 frequency from phantom and D7 frequency from the Wisadek black hole and forced them together to form an artificial D13 base 8 reverse current, which now D12 in a natural structure is the Christos current. They formed an anti-Christos current. They call it their D13 current, but it really isn't. It's not even as powerful as our D12, but it gives our D12 a run for its money. It's about a D11.5 strength, but it's a base 8 instead of a base 12, which means it has less thrust per dimensional band. This current is called the blue sword current, because it has to do with the structure in the beast that will manifest as what appears to be a flaming blue sword that runs down our 12-dimensional stargates this way, and a little horizontal crossbar. It's also known as the flaming blue sword of Archangel Michael. So there are people that are working with this that have no idea that they're running Metatronics, and what they're doing is progressively handing their bodies over on a platter to the shadow dancers, which are the parts that were of the Wesadet groups that had nothing to do with 99% of the people in this matrix in the first place. They're not your soul family. They're not your avatar family. They're from a different family. Now they're part of the family of God, yes. Everything in creation is all family in those terms. They like to exploit that principle heavily. Since it's family, I can eat it. Because that's what they're doing. They're using these energy feeding tubes through the shadow body and the Metatronic implants to literally suck the energy off of our fields, to suck our consciousness into theirs. What happens when you get fully Metatronic is who you were to begin with gets assimilated. Kind of like they had a group called the Borg in one of the Star Trek movies, I think, or the series. And it's like being assimilated, where you become one of the hive mind. And the hive mind is one of them. They take your energy, they rip your template apart, they use your raw energy units and reassemble it into their consciousness collective. So you aren't quite the you used to be before you got Metatronic. Now, the flame bodies are what it takes to progressively sever these cords. That's what we're doing. We're severing the dancer cords. So it means these guys can't keep pulling energy from us, and they can't keep pushing into us, because if they want to, they can push energy just like they can pull it. They can ride that D13 reverse current into the body and take over and look out our eyes and make us do things. There are a bunch of people that do wacky stuff, and there have been for thousands of years, that won't even remember they did it. Now, psychology likes to try to put big long names on those things and fantasize about what chemical imbalances might have caused that one. What they don't look for is what shadow dancer might have come in, took temporary possession of the body, used it for its own devices, got rid of what was actually an adversary that you didn't even see that drama on this level, and then pulled back again. And the person who actually the body belonged to had no memory of the fact that it was done. Talk about being violated. Excuse me, Whack, I'm going to borrow your body for a minute, and I'm going to get you in trouble, then you're going to have to deal with it when you get back. This is what they've been doing to people for ages. I mean, you can see it sometimes in yourself, sometimes in your children, sometimes in your parents. Now, the degree to which you succumb depends on how much the Metatronic code is activated in your body. Everybody's got it at this point. But we can neutralize it with the flame body activations, and that's why we're doing them.